So this is a tap and die set from Harbor Freight. It's a pretty inexpensive tap and die set. So what you're seeing is pieces here that have threads on the outside. Those are called the taps. And we have ones that have threading on the inside, which are called dies. So if I had a metal rod that I wanted to put threads on the outside, I would make sure the rod had the right diameter, and then go ahead and put in our die. Back these screws out. Now a die has two different sides to it. If we look at this side here, the hole kind of flares out, where the other one is square to the end. So this is where we want to come over top of the piece where it has the flare, so it centers itself. So I'm going to set these two holes in a notch there so that they line up with the screws. And then go ahead and tighten those in so it doesn't fall out on us. Then tighten my handles, and that's good. So if I cut this thing in length, this threaded rod, and the threads were all messed up, I can go ahead and bring this over top of it. Now when I vise it in here, I don't want to vise it too hard because I don't want to move the threads that I have in here. But I want to have something to hold this so I can get this centered. When I'm doing this, I'm also careful that I don't cross thread. So I want to stay square with the material. So that cleans out debris that was in between the threads, and it also lines that last thread up at the top there, so I can go ahead and put a nut onto that. So I'll show you what I've done there. By the way, these dies come in very large diameters also. The set that I have only goes up to 3/8, and that's really all we've used here. But it cleaned up all those threads and made that better alignment for that top thread as it comes on, so I can go ahead and put a nut onto that. That's a die. That goes back in the 1/4-20 location. And this goes back into that location. Okay? Now for the taps, I have a series of taps here in metric and also in standard. So the tap that I have into this is a 1/4-20. You can see that I can also fashion one of these. It has the handle separate from the chuck. Same thing. Allows it to go in. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put some threads into this. I'll put a little bit of oil on here again. I'm going to make sure my cutter is at a 90-degree angle to the stock. I don't want to come in here at an angle. And I'll start turning it. It's going to want to follow through square. It's not going to want to go at an angle because that 7/32 that we cut there was a square cut. We may, after we braze, if too much brazing goes into these threads here, we may have to use this again to clean out some of the brazing. That would just go right through when you do that. So what have we achieved there? Let me get a bolt. I'll get a 1/4-20 bolt and see how that works. Brush out some of the chips that are in there. You know, the one thing about wearing masks that I have learned is I blow things out with my mouth very often, like blow sawdust off or blow chips out when wearing safety glasses, and you can't do that when you're wearing a mask. So that goes in 1/4-20. You see that goes all the way through? Okay? And I can get a nut driver and go ahead and thread that all the way through. In fact, I will. So that's 7/16. So you see that is locked in there now. Okay? And that's what we're looking for. Okay? Next week we're going to talk about cleaning this up and preparing it to get a braze onto it. I'll do a video for that.